Hello everybody, Cindy Greenway here, Editor-in-Chief at lawmarketing.com, and today we're talking about how to build a content marketing plan specifically for personal injury attorneys. And I'm joined here with Tanner Jones, who serves as a marketing director for ConsultWebs.com. And at ConsultWebs, they have 3 licensed attorney writers on staff that produce content for law firm websites on a regular basis. So Tanner, thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks, Cindy. Glad to be here.
Right. So we all know content marketing is important. We hear over and over and over again how it's critical to build our visibility online, our credibility online. But I think sometimes when it comes to actually developing that plan, attorneys get lost. So I'd love for you to share, specifically for our personal injury attorneys here, what is it that they need to consider or do when it comes to developing that content marketing plan?
Sure, yeah, and that's really why we've invested so heavily into, bringing licensed attorney writers on staff, because we know how difficult it is to be practicing law and trying to keep up with your on-site content. But a lot of times what personal injury law firms will do is they'll get started and they'll build those key pages. So your home page, firm profile, attorney bio pages, and then those key landing pages for your main practice areas: personal injury, car accidents, truck accidents, motorcycle accidents, slip and fall, workers' compensation. Really, the list could be limited to 2 or 3 of those main pages. Or it could be as many as a couple hundred primary personal injury practice area pages. But once they get that foundation, at that point they pretty much stall out with ideas. How can I keep my website active with more content once I've already supported it with all of my practice areas? Right. So that's really what I want to be able to share today is how can you get past that stumbling point there and continue to keep your site active with good quality personal injury focused content. And what I would recommend doing, basically there's 2 categories to on-site content. There's what we refer to as static content, which is the practice area content. It can be sub-practice area content or FAQs, or there is what we call blog content. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with blog content. Blog content is typically for more timely information or very narrowly focused content. Static content can typically be more general or non-timely information. We'll start with talking about static content. So once you have those primary practice area pages developed, consider how can you build out beyond car accidents. So it's kind of a hierarchical structure of content. Once you have these key landing pages, how can you build out beyond those? So for car accidents, there's several different types of car accidents that you can write about. There's distracted driving accidents, there's drunk driving related accidents, rear end accidents, T-bone collisions, and the list can go on and on. Rollover accidents, for example. And so if you can sit down and write out that plan, and that's the first step that you should take is planning out that site architecture and being able to develop content around that, and then set hard deadlines for when you're going to develop that content. And so that holds you and your staff accountable in doing that, and that'll allow you to really keep your site active and updated with good relevant content. And not only that, but it's going to continue to bring in traffic and qualified traffic, people searching for very detailed information related to their type of accident.
Right. I love the part that you said there, Tanner, about get your staff involved, because I think that's probably one of the pieces that quite often doesn't happen. Attorneys feel really crowded, I guess, with their day. They're dealing with so many different activities each and every day that sitting down to write content is just, I don't have time. So getting the staff involved to create that plan to even help with maybe putting some things together or that's a whole other video really on how your staff can help, right? But I like that part because I think attorneys sometimes feel like they have to do it all on their own. So really good piece there. Okay.
Yeah. And great. One last tip, Cindy, would be for the blogging piece. So we talked about the static content. But most people or most attorneys are familiar with Google Docs, and there you can actually create an Excel document within Google Docs, share it among your staff, other attorneys, and as your potential clients and existing clients come in and ask these questions that you're hearing over and over, have them go into that Google Doc and write that question down. And so over time, you're going to build up, at least 10, 20, sometimes hundreds of various topics related to your practice area that your potential clients are asking, that your clients are asking. And then so when you start stalling out on ideas for blog topics, you can refer back to that document and quickly pull out some quick ideas and develop blog articles around that. And that should help keep the blog very active and fresh.
Great. I love that. Just having an ongoing database of some inspiration of what to write about.
Sure.
Because that happens too. You carve out the time, then you got writer's block as soon as you sit down
Right.
and start writing. So great. Well, Tanner, thank you so much. I think that was really helpful, to consider the static as well as the blog content. And I know we'll talk again on how personal injury attorneys can expand from these tips into really strengthening their content marketing plans. So thanks, Tanner. And I know people can find you at consultwebs.com and also at what's your Twitter ID?
Tanner Jones _CW.
Great. All right, Tanner. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Cindy.